Today I am answering the questions that you had about exercise and IBS and how you can use exercise to relieve your symptoms. If we've never met before, I'm Julie O'Hara, and I've helped over 30,000 people tackle the FODMAP diet and relieve IBS symptoms through my website and my online membership community. Okay, so I asked you on my Instagram stories and on my Facebook group what questions you have around the topic of exercise and IBS. How does it work? What do you do? Anything that you needed to know. So last week, I published a video on how exercise helps IBS, what you should do if you have IBS-C versus IBS-D. Should you exercise during a flare-up? So I published that video that is linked below, so check that out for sure if you haven't watched it. And I also published a blog post on the topic. So these questions are things that I couldn't quite fit into that first video and blog post, but that were great questions that I definitely want to answer. Okay, if you like this sort of content, if you like learning more about IBS and tackling the FODMAP diet, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I put out new content all around the topic of the FODMAP diet and IBS, and click the bell so that you never miss a video from me. Okay, I'm going to get into the questions kind of rapid fire style. So the first one is, does exercising the upper and lower abs improve the situation? I like that terminology, the situation down here. The answer is no, or there's no evidence right now to support that. So when you say working the abs, you'll be strengthening your abdominal muscles. And maybe that question comes from the idea that if your muscles are stronger, that'll help your digestion work better, help those muscles contract and move the food through your body, but that's not how it works. Those contractions are involuntary. You can't control the contractions in your digestive system, in your gut that are involved with digestion. So while you might get a six-pack, it won't really help your IBS. Okay. The next question is, what if you fear the gym or you don't know where to start with exercise? Okay, this is a great one. And what I want to point out here, I think the biggest thing is understanding that you don't have to become Miss Fitness Robo Barbie overnight. You don't have to start going to the gym every single day. You don't even have to join a gym. You just need to start with some kind of movement. So if you don't see yourself as a fit person or, whatever that means to you, a gym rat, then see yourself as a person who moves more. That's all there is to it. And if you actually build up that habit of moving just a little more for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week, you will become a fit person, whether you see yourself that way or not. So the thing is just to find something that you can tolerate for 5 or 10 minutes and just make it a habit. And the habit is the important part. And before you know it, you'll feel the benefits and that will snowball. So I have a couple questions about running, and that's an important thing to talk about. So the first question is, I find that running helps with getting some bowel movement, but when is it too much? Okay, the fact is that a vigorous exercise like running can definitely help your digestion speed up, can stimulate those muscles to contract and move the bowels. And as long as you're not having any pain or you're not causing diarrhea or unpleasant symptoms, then it's not too much. But it's going to be different for every person. So if the running seems to help you and that's a good thing, then you're absolutely fine. Keep doing it. Just kind of experiment with the amount that works for you. So this one is about running and breathing. So the question is, when I run and I breathe intensively, so I'm thinking like deep huffing and puffing, I feel pain. How should I breathe? I'm going to defer this question to someone who is an expert on fitness because I am not a runner. I haven't run in probably a decade after an injury, so I know nothing about running or about how you should breathe. But I want you to check out Abby Pollock on YouTube, and she has a video titled How to Start Running, I think. If you Google Abby or you search Abby Pollock, How to Start Running, and I'll put the link to the video in the description below so you don't even have to search. But check that out. I think she has some good tips on how you should do it properly. Her stuff is very science-based, so check that out because I am not an expert on that topic. What is the best exercise when bloated? All right, this is a great one, and I touched on this if you watched the last video. So a study proved that exercise can help gas in your system move out more quickly. And if gas is what's causing the bloating, then definitely exercise is a good thing. But in that study, the people just pedaled a stationary bike. So that's really light, easy sort of exercise. I think just taking a light walk, doing some light yoga, something like that would help. So there's nothing specific that you need to do, but the takeaway is that it doesn't have to be anything really intense. And, you can do that anytime. Even if you've eaten, you can still take a light walk and hopefully help that gas get out faster and relieve the bloating. How can you keep track of whether your symptoms are food or exercise related? I like this question because it's important to kind of find the source of those symptoms, right? So you can fix it, hopefully, and do something about it. So if you're having symptoms from exercise, and I think this is probably referring to someone who might be having an IBS-D situation, maybe exercise causes urgency for you, and we don't want that. So if that's the case, it's going to happen either during or right after the exercise in most cases. That is the most likely scenario. That movement is going to get those bowels moving, and if you're prone to those sorts of symptoms, then it's going to happen right in that time frame. When food causes our symptoms, and usually it's the FODMAPs in your food that cause symptoms, this happens hours after you eat the food. Sometimes you'll have a meal and you'll start to get symptoms, but that's from the food that's been in your gut for a while, from anywhere from 3 to 8 hours. People can get symptoms 24 hours after eating a food, even 48 hours I've seen in people. So it's different, but it definitely has a great delay. With exercise, it's easier to connect because it happens more immediately. And if you're having pain or bloating hours after exercise, it's unlikely that the exercise caused it unless you did something that was so intense and taxing that maybe that messed up your system. Okay, next question. You guys gave me such great questions, I just had to make a whole video. Okay, are any exercises not advised? Is high intensity okay? There's really no exercise that is off limits except for really intense long distance running. So even if you don't have any digestive issues at all, there's this thing called runner's diarrhea, and those elite marathoners can get it even. So that kind of intense running or something similar to that, maybe not a good idea, although you can experiment with anything that you want if you feel up to it. As far as things like CrossFit and HIIT, spin class, those really intense things, they're fine as long as they're not causing you pain or triggering your symptoms. Like I said in my last video, if you're really prone to IBS-D and you regularly have those moments of urgency, then you want to be careful and you want to go slowly and do light exercise and kind of find what works for you. But there's really no one thing that's off limits. This is a good one. Does yoga really help? Okay, there's this sort of like magic mythology around yoga, like it's this magical sort of exercise. And yeah, it does really help. But the reason it helps is just the reason that any kind of exercise helps. You're moving your body, you're stimulating those contractions, you're pushing the gas through your system. So I do have people who say that, this yoga pose or, doing a little yoga routine just gets my bowels moving or makes me feel so much better. They really feel it in certain poses. And I have a blog post about some simple poses that you can start with to, specifically help with stomach issues. So if you Google calm belly yoga, you will find that. I will also put the link in the description. So that's the main reason yoga helps. And those specific poses that target the digestion and the gut, I am not a yoga expert. I don't do yoga, but definitely read that blog post because I did my research for that. But some of those specific poses you would want to try, but more likely it's really just the motion. So if you like yoga, that can be your exercise. Do it. That's great. If you really don't like it, then walking will probably give you similar benefits. Or anything that you like. Let me see the last question. How long should you wait to exercise after a meal? The reason you want to wait, and you should wait 1 to 2 hours. An hour is probably sufficient in most cases. But the reason it's important is because when you exercise, the blood is flowing to your muscles to support the exercise that you're doing. So you want, when you're digesting, you want the blood flowing to your gut to stimulate digestion and, let your body focus on digestion before you start exercising. So that's the important part. If you exercise too soon, that blood flow goes to your muscles and your digestion might get stalled a little. You might have some issues with that. So, just notice how it affects you. If you've just had a huge meal, I would say wait 2 hours. It's also fine to just have a kind of a light snack, maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes before you work out. In the morning, I have yogurt and berries with protein powder every morning before I work out, but it's at least a half an hour before, and I have no issues. I could never work out on an empty stomach. I would die. So it's okay to eat before, but definitely keep it light. You don't want to feel that, heaviness or whatever, where you're uncomfortable. Try it, see what works for you. And, it's kind of that rule for anything. Just wait an hour, wait until you feel like your food has digested before you really get moving. Okay, so those were all your questions. I know I talked kind of fast, but I didn't want this video to be 20 minutes long. Maybe it is, I don't know. You lose track of time on YouTube. Okay, so if you want to hang out with me between videos, follow me on Instagram. I'm at Calm Belly Kitchen on Instagram. I'll put that link down below as well. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I've got more great videos coming. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, have a calm belly life.